So that's the battery died just then. So what we've done is completed trimming each side. So we've got our borders, they're 3 inches wide all the way around. Just cut off the loose threads there. So now we're going on to our backing. So our back, we're going to do an envelope style back, so it's going to be made up of 2 pieces. So with our backing pieces, want to take it to the binding board, and you want to fold over one edge by about 1 centimetre, and then you're going to fold that over again, and you're going to press that again. And then what we're going to do, we're going to sew those edges down on the sewing machine, and they're going to form our tidy edges for our back pieces. Right, so at the sewing machine, I'm just going to have to change my foot over. So I'm just going to change it over to my piece of foot. You just need your normal foot on your sewing machine. Stage. There we go. Just take that one off. Just tighten that on. There we go. So down to a medium stitch, and I'm just going to stitch one and then straight away go into stitching the other one. So thread down. And you want this to be a nice neat, go. So I'm using the edge of my foot as a guide, just keeping that nice and straight. So what we're going to do now is layer our cushion up together so that we can add our back. Because we're going to add on like a faux piping to it, we're going to put it right sides together. So lay that down on the top of your painted side, and then we're going to add that one at the top, and you want to line those up, and then I'm going to use my clips and clip this together, and you just want to make sure that where you're overlapping your layers, that's particularly pinned down securely, so that you're not going to be getting those tucked up as you're sewing. Put that in the top. You probably only need sort of 3 or 4 on each side. The sides will have more in because I'm just making sure that those edges don't get tucked up. Then we'll go back to the machine. We're going to go back to our walking foot. So at the machine I've got my walking foot on, and I'm going to be using the edge of my foot along the side of my cushion to follow down. Just get my tub, take out the clips as you go, and I'm going to be stitching all the way around. I've started halfway down because I know that on the other underside that the edge of my top flap is facing down, so it's going to go smoothly. So I'm going to stitch that all the way around, and I'm actually going to come off the edge because I'm going to be snipping the edges to make it easier when it comes to turning it round. Again, lining up my machine with the edge. Now on this side, you just need to make sure when you get to your flap on the back that it doesn't get tucked up. So that is my marker where it is. So make sure it needles down. Take my clip out. Make sure that's up over the lip. And check again before I actually stitch it. There we go, and then we're just going to finish off on this last bit. Just make sure everything's down flat where they overlap. I'm going to just go where I started, some those stitches. There we go. Oh. Some scissors, and you just want to trim those threads where you've started and finished. On that side and that side. Alright then, so what we're going to do now is going to trim this seam back, and we're also going to be snipping our corners across. You don't want to cut through the intersection of your stitches there, but just cut that corner off. That just makes it easier when it comes to turning it through, just makes the corners tidier. There we go. And then we'll go back to the cutting table and I can trim those edges. So I'm using my long ruler to make it easier and my rotary cutter. Where my 1/4 inch marking line is, I'm going to lay that along the stitching line. So I'm going to take it back to 1/8 of an inch. So those little marks there of the 1/8 of an inch. I'm just going to lay those on that stitching line, trim that right back. There we go. And I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. That's 2 down. One more. There we go. Get rid of those. And then we're going to just turn that through to the right way. So you're turning it, you're just going to push those corners through. Most of the time just using your fingers is enough. Sometimes I use the particularly stubborn, use the handle of the seam ripper. You don't want anything sharp because it will poke through. I'm just, let's see, just easing it out with my finger. And one more. There we go. Now, what we're going to do now to get this ready to add our final row of stitching, where you've turned it through, you just want to make sure the seam is central. Just fold that over. So basically you're just finger pressing it, smoothing all that fabric out the way. And just putting a clip in place to hold it. You need a few more clips on this one. I'm going to do that all the way around. What I tend to do is put the flat bits along the padded side. It seems to hold it, gives it enough pressure to hold it in place. Just make sure that you're smoothing the fabric down at the back so you're not going to get that tucked up in this stitching. Takes a bit more easing where you've got the extra layer of fabric in. It's just worth taking the time to make sure that's all smoothed out. And as soon as you're back onto the thinner fabric again, you'll notice it feels a lot easier. Now the reason I've finish a lot of my cushions off this way. It just means that there are no raw edges inside your cushion cover, because now as we're going to stitch this line of stitching around, it's put in that seam all inside and there's nothing to fray. But if you're have sewn clothes at all, you'll be aware of French seams, and this is basically what this is. It just tidies off your seams inside. I'll show you once we've got this stitched. But when you've got a cushion, it's just like a piping edge, because your cushion pad will go in the bottom and that will just stand on the edge as you saw on the picture. So now I'm going to go to the sewing machine. Again, we need the walking foot, and we're going to be using a long stitch to add this line of stitching. So I'm going to be sewing all the way around. I'm using my edge of my foot against the edge of my cushion as a guide. And I'm going to go all the way around. When you get to the corners, you're not going to go right to the edge. You're just going to go to the middle of the corner, so that when you're stitching, you're at an equal distance from each edge. Now, as you get to the corner, you'll see it will begin to, the pressure on it will help you see where you folded it and the seam underneath, the seam allowance is in there. So just, that's it. Turn around, and I'm going to begin following the edge. On this side, that's where my flap is there. I just want to make sure that that doesn't get caught up and it's stitched flat. So as I get close to it, you see the seam. Just make sure it's all flat underneath. There we go, and we'll go all around until we get back to where we started. There we are, right back to where we started. I'm going to go over just a few stitches, reverse, lock it, there we go. I'm going to take that off and all the threads can be trimmed. There we are. Now if I show you the inside, you can see how all your edges are enclosed, so you've got a nice tidy finish and you don't have any raw edges that are going to fray over time. So there you go. there's your cushion cover, and all we need to do now is get a cushion pad to fit it.